And of course, we've been keeping a close eye on the story of the Matrics of 2021. Our reporters this morning are at some of the schools across the country as learners will be heading there to collect their results. Zikhona Tshona is in Katlehong for us. Mnisi is in Durban. Zikhona, let's begin with you this morning. An air of excitement. Tell us about the specific school where you are at and what their results look like amid that national picture.
Michelle, as you correctly said, we are in Katlehong, at Katlehong Engineering School of Specialization. This school was launched in 2019, so it fully felt the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Last year, in 2020 rather, the school obtained a 98.5% pass rate. It's gone down to about 90.5%. We are expecting the learners from the school to make their way here from just before 7, but we spoke to the principal. He says he's pleased, particularly coming from a township school. He believes that the pupils and the teachers put in the needed work to make sure that the school maintains its above a 90% pass rate on average.
Tell us a bit more about that technical school, Zikhona, because the discussion we're always having, isn't it, is that engineering is one of the specializations that we want to get more of our students into, specializing in mathematics, doing well in the sciences as well. How does that high school fare on that score?
Well, as I've mentioned, the school was launched in 2019 as part of the Gauteng government's efforts to change the face of township schools, but also in the commitment by the MEC of Education in this province to build 22 schools. So this school is one of the biggest specializing schools in this province, prioritizing subjects such as maths, as well as science. So it is quite important that we encourage young people, particularly from poor backgrounds, to not believe that maths is something that is impossible for them to do. By the mere fact that the school obtained a 98% pass rate in 2020 tells you of the importance and also how hard it is working to make sure that the face of maths is changed, that the face of science is changed. It's now again managed in 2021 to maintain its above 90% pass rate. But as the morning progresses, we'll be getting to hear from the principal of the school as well as the Gauteng Education Department with regards to the work that the school has been able to achieve. The principal spoke very importantly about the importance of having a science and math school inside a township. He says he's very proud of his pupils, and we'll also be speaking to the top pupil from the school, who I can tell you is a female. Majority of the pupils from the school are actually females, which is something that is remarkable, something that is important. Females shouldn't feel as though maths or science is something that is meant for boys. We also heard the minister yesterday saying that more and more young girls are finishing, are completing the National Senior Certificate.
Zikhona Tshona, that's such incredible information there. Looking forward to your discussions with the principal and with the pupils as well. Let's take you live now to Durban this morning. That's where we find my colleague Mnisi. Linda, there's already a hive of activity where you are. Of course, schooling goes on as per usual, but the class of 2021 will be rocking up there shortly to collect their results.
Yeah, indeed, Michelle. In fact, I'm at a petrol station, which is usually the first place that matric learners would come to collect their results. It's become tradition that the newspapers, when they land in the early hours of the morning, many students would be gathered at various petrol stations to get their hands on this newspaper. And I can tell you, Michelle, at this very moment, if you look behind me, there's not even a single matriculant, which gives you an indication of how they've been expecting these particular results. But what is interesting from my vantage point, where I'm standing right now, is what is just here on the ground, Michelle. You'll remember this nearly did not happen this year, given the fact that the publishing of the matric result was taken to court, with the Basic Education Department deciding that it would not be doing what we're seeing today. But then, of course, the court's reaching a different decision. So students who came here in the early hours of this morning were able to find their student exam numbers on the matric, on the papers rather, to get a sense of how well they did in the matric. It gives you also an indication that perhaps the person who bought this newspaper was really done with it. They got what they got and they left. And from also what I'm seeing here, it looks a bit torn, Michelle. I wonder how this person did. But of course, it's also an experience for the learners who come here as a culture. When they wait for that paper, Michelle, they're quite excited. There's a lot of anxiety. You look at some of them, seeing that it's finally boiling down to that very moment that they've been waiting for 12 years ago when they enrolled into the schooling system, has now come to an end, and it will all be determined by what they see on this newspaper.
I'm not sure how I feel about finding out about your matric results for the first time when you fetch that newspaper, Linda. I mean, a lot of those students most likely would have gotten their results perhaps via SMS, perhaps after having been in conversation with their schools, and so you sort of buy the newspaper to get that in the paper confirmation as well.
Yeah, and that was part of the discussion when this matter was taken to court. Michelle, you'll remember one of the pupils that took the department to court indicated that she had relocated and would not really be in a position to go to her previous school to get her matric results right on time when all the other learners are getting. But also in that judgment that was made by the court, noting that not every learner has the facilities to access the Department of Education's online platforms, because it also had indicated that learners can go onto their online platform to receive their matric results. Remember, also, KwaZulu-Natal is one of the provinces that have rural villages where students go to school and they need to access this information. The POPIA Act really does not, and the manner in which the matric results are released does not really prevent the matrics from getting their results here in the streets. The next step then for these learners is to go to the schools to collect those results. But after buying that newspaper, it's time to take it home and show it to the parents as proof that indeed they did pass.
Linda Mnisi, thanks very much indeed for that update. He's live to us there in Durban this morning. My colleague Zikhona Tshona is out in Katlehong at an engineering school for us, as well as we continue to track the story of Matric 2021.